How are you today? So, I want to talk about something that, before I've tried to talk about it, um, and it wasn't really well received by most people. I do think it's been about 5 years since I really tried to promote these ideas. I've actually mentioned it for sure on my own platforms privately with private discussions over the past 5 years still, but it's been, since probably 2019 before I publicly tried to convince people or, make people aware of these issues. But yeah, so basically, like back then, it really wasn't well received. The idea of potentially um, calling out issues within the music industry, and even though it was the height of the Me Too movement, I feel like that didn't have a local impact. Like, I know that there was an Me Too movement within the music community within a Hollywood level, and I do know that, even today we can still see a different, I don't want to say like a reiteration because it's a different, because it's all actually still events that have been happening, a continuation of these addressing these issues, I guess. But yeah, so like and by that I'm referring to what's happening with Diddy in terms of the Me Too movement, and different people coming forward with allegations about that. Um, and so I do know that like over time, different uh publicly different voices do get heard. But I will say locally, I know within my own story and then within many other people, like, and I live in New Orleans, um, it's very hard to get heard here or make a difference. And people do support, corruption within the music industry. So I I feel the same is applied to all human rights issues in the music industry. And we also don't pay attention socially, like as a community, like how tied into the music industry, like where our money goes. um so in that regard, like we don't think about who runs the music industry, who are the key players, what's monopolizing it all, and where is that funding going. um and so for me, like whenever I started realizing these things and calling it out, um I really feel like, like there was this just kind of like all of these people just giving me reasons why they could never um stop supporting these companies, even though they were now aware that this is what was happening with the money. They're still saying, oh well, you just are jealous, like you just don't support people in the music industry because you can't make it, type thing, is what they were telling me whenever I was just like, dude, like we're literally giving our money to the abortion ban. um things like that. And so at first it was really hard, um because like whenever you go through realizations with value alignment, it can be very hard when you try to have these discussions in your community, because then you no longer feel value aligned, and in many cases that can come to an issue of feeling safe within certain groups. And so I do feel like, there's there's line when it comes to these issues, to where you either conform to what your community is doing, or you step away from your community, you know um and so yeah, whenever like I was coming to all of these realizations with value alignment in my community and how I built my career and my connections within the music industry, at first it was like really really hard, because when it's not an easy thing to break away from a community in any regard, to decide to go on your own or to decide to try a new way of doing things that's different than the way you're raised. um and whenever you do decide to leave a community in this way. It's like you can have no support system at first, and I think that is the hardest part and the hardest hurdle to get through. But then it's like you come to these realizations, like in your current reality though, yeah, you have people, but are you really supported? And then when you start feeling alone, even when you're surrounded by people, that is kind of, I feel like, when it's like your sign, you know what I mean? When it's your sign that you have taken what lessons you can from this community and it is time, and that's really how I feel with the music industry, like.
Speaking for myself, I've never felt better.
Hi, my name is Lexie, also known as and doing business as Deaf Child. In 2022, my company was listed as number 14 Best Louisiana Events Companies and Startups. I have been doing business as Deaf Child since 2013. I have my Bachelor of Science in Music Industry Studies and Business Administration, and deafness runs in my family genetically. Speech is not fully accessible to me. And I've got about 50 certifications in marketing and sales that you can find at noladeafchild.com. So, basically what we're going to be doing is going over some articles that I have picked out before to show you today. So one of them that I want to discuss is called Jazz Fest Production Partner Catches Heat for Anti-LGBTQ Climate Denial Donations. And as we go through, you may notice the titles of these articles are highlighted because I had been copying and pasting the titles and the links for sharing those sources later. But anyway, so this was written by Chelsea Brasted. I don't know how to say that. From the TimesPicayune.com. And this is from January 2017. It was updated in 2021. And so basically, it's about how the owner of AEG, which is, it's the major media company, it co-produces New Orleans Jazz Fest, and it's presented by Shell, uh, and it's come under fire, for supporting anti-LGBTQ climate denial organizations. I cannot speak. So there's a lot of music publications that have been citing the owner, Philip Anschutz, for his political donations. People try to discredit it, as, oh, they're really old. But in 2017, they did get some popularity from the Coachella festival lineup and promotion. So that was kind of like a good, like, when these music festivals come around and people are promoting it, and so then they become trending topics in the algorithm, it can be good times to discuss the harm they're causing in the industry, because those are times where content related to the festivals are trending more. So yeah, the Coachella is owned by AEG, the same as Jazz Fest, from New Orleans. And AEG officially became a Jazz Fest partner in 2004 and opened offices here in 2015. So yeah. And another thing to point out is the Washington Post reported that Anschutz, who ranked number 39 of the Forbes 400 richest people in the United States. He's donated money to the Alliance Defending Freedom, which advocates for your right to freely live out your faith, but it's a national Christian foundation, and it works aggressively against LGBTQ issues. And the Family Research Council, which the Southern Poverty Law Center calls an extremist group. So, and he's been called out before for being conservative and for having an agenda. from Teen Vogue, Politico, Greenpeace. Um, he called this fake news and garbage and talked about how he was diverse and stuff like that and doesn't do discrimination. But I would say that where he puts his money says otherwise, because to me it's like you don't directly donate to these orgs. You know what I mean? Like if so, yeah. Um, and I am going to be linking all of these links in the comments after the live as well. Another article I want to point out, it's called The New Orleans Jazz Fest in the AEG Era, Spending More Money, Making More Money. It's by Keith Spera from NOLA.com, Times Picayune. It's from April 2014, and yeah, it's an interesting one because, well, it just, better highlights, about how um, New Orleans Jazz Fest is AEG Live. Um, and that is, it basically kind of goes into how uh, 2004 New Orleans Jazz Fest lost money. But you know what? Wait a minute. Let's pull this up again. When did they acquire it? It discussed it. I think it was 2005, they said. Oh, no, 2004. They opened offices in 2015. So AEG Festival became a partner in 2004, and that was the year that they had lost money. So keep that in mind. So it was all financial. Um, and yeah, basically they didn't want to cut the budget, and so they decided to partner with AEG to get more money. Um, but was it really worth it? You know what I mean? Like, to be honest, the music used to be so much better. Everything about the festival used to be so much better. But yeah, AEG, because they're such a giant, they just have the funds to bring in bigger artists, to bring in more tourists, and to raise the prices. And it talks here about they're spending $50,000 on headliners for their smaller tents. You know what I mean? Um, and they've had people earn between half a million and $1 million headlining the festival. So yeah, it's like that's why people choose this evil is for those bigger budgets. Apparently, unfortunately, I think Essence Festival may be connected as well, according to this article. Oh no, it's severed ties with them. Never mind. Oh, okay, no. FPI is a different company that partnered with AEG. Essence used to be with FPI. Essence Music Festival severed ties with FPI in 2008. Okay, interesting. All right, moving on. So now let's talk about how AEG they acquired Winter Circle Productions. So Winter Circle Productions they not only put on Buku Music Festival, they put on like a bunch of events in New Orleans. They're mostly really big in the electronic scene, to be honest, but they do a lot of events. They do a lot of events also, particularly at this music venue called Republic. I don't know how involved they're involved with Republic. I just know that a lot of Republic shows happen to be produced by Winter Circle. But Winter Circle, they do events everywhere around the city, you know. And so just keep that in mind. Since at least 2015, let's see if it says the year. This article was written in 2015 by Frank Etheridge from Offbeat magazine. And it's called AEG Live Acquires Winter Circle Productions. Um, and yeah, so this was founded in 2009. Buku started in 2012. Um, and then they opened an office in 2013, and then they're talking about their nonprofit Upbeat Academy, which is supposed to which here's what kicks me with the Upbeat Academy thing, right? Upbeat Academy is supposed to be about preventing people from supporting people impacted by mass incarceration by teaching kids who are impacted by mass incarceration music. However, it's owned by a company that is criminalizing weed and is funding mass incarceration. Ain't that fucked up? Just using music. Just keep that in mind. Isn't that a mind fuck? I think it's it's the perfect example of what is wrong with nonprofits in the United States and like corporate social responsibility in the United States, right? Because the corporations are the social problems. What the fuck you mean corporate social responsibility? Like, and then they don't even take responsibility with corporate social responsibility. They just kind of like admit that they fuck up and say that they'll think about doing fixing it a little bit. They're like, it's not even real corporate social. It's corporate admissibility with marginal responsibility. Anywho, sorry. Fucking, but yeah. So I'm pretty sure that Buku is just like closed for good now. Like, if they come back again, I wouldn't be surprised, because things are picking up again with some. It's really like income disparity is so loud right now. Like, on some levels, you're either doing super terrible right now or you're just doing fantastic. So, and there are some ways in which the music industry is still doing like really well right now, and Coachella is still doing well. Actually, I heard that they flopped on ticket sales this year, but um, compared to other festivals that have had to close up entirely, they're still doing better than other people. But okay, I will keep going. But yeah, they said that AEG was gonna give them stability that they were craving. Um, And so other festivals right here that they're listing that are part of AEG include New Orleans Jazz Fest, that we've been talking about, Bayou Country Superfest in Baton Rouge, Hangout Festival in Orange Beach. Those are all AEG. So keep in mind that all of these, they're all fun. Like all the money for all of these festivals as well have the same social issues with funding the abortion ban, being, anti-LGBTQIA, um, etc. So we'll keep going into all of that. But yeah, fucking, I'm like highlighting this and copying it because I want to remember to paste this information, like add these festivals into the description as well. So another article is called "Your Coachella Money is Going to a Right-Wing Billionaire Who Funded Anti-LGBT and Anti-Marijuana Causes." It's by Amy Zimmerman. It's from April 2018. Um, And so yeah, and so oh my god, I love it. This chick said, "Think Fire Festival, but financially solvent." And honestly, I think that's a great way to describe the type of entitlement and privilege that the people who go have. Um, fucking. So yeah. So Anschutz, he's one of the richest people in America. He has a net worth of 12.9 billion. Um, and he's been giving large sums of money to the Alliance Defending Freedom, which is a national Christian foundation, as well as Family Research Council, which this is a group that's working to chip away equal rights of queer people. Um, as well as another group, again, it's deemed an extremist group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. So think about that. And meanwhile, he's trying to say he supports queer people, but are you fucking kidding me? And people, they're basically calling it morally murky waters to choose between a boycott and seeing a celebrity, which I think is problematic, speaks to the world we live in. Um, I mean, no, not hitting on Beyonce though. Like, I feel like we can criticize Beyonce for political reasons, or their critiques I have of her for political reasons. However, love her music, super talented, amazing voice, but um, I kind of wish I could talk to her. That would be cool as shit. Yeah, I really do. I really wish I could talk to Beyonce and be like, what the fuck's happening? Like, not a bitchy way, but just like in a blunt, real way. Like, because I curse and I just, want to be able to just get to the fucking point and not beat around the bush and just be like, what the fuck, man? Like, because shit, like, the fuck, like, we loved you. What the fuck is this shit? Like, and with the whole, things happening in Palestine today, like, all of that too comes into question. And then, yeah, I don't know. But I digress. I apologize. Okay, so and then honestly though, I kind of wish Beyonce would just, cause she's got so much power. I really wish Beyonce or someone that has the same type of power as her would just use that wealth that she's accumulated. Maybe it's because of contracts locking her in at this point, but I kind of wish she would just, say fuck all of you guys, do her own thing, make her own music festivals, do her own music venues, do her own thing away from all of this. Someone, she's got the money. Her or Rihanna, get a Beyonce Rana. Why'd I put their names together like that? I don't know if that was cool or not. Like fucking if one of them like were to make their own music festivals, just get away from any commercialized bullshit, that'd be cool. Okay, I'm sorry. Um, so a lot of this information, is gonna be it's kind of like all the kind of the same. Like you got it the first time, but there's just further conclusions that I've come across. So, um, they were reviewing tax filings, and that revealed donations to dozens of conservative and libertarian organizations. Um, And this includes Americans for Prosperity, the political arm of the Industrialist Co-Brothers, the Federalist Society, the conservative legal network that Trump has given an unprecedented role in picking federal judges, and Number USA Education and Research, which calls itself an immigration reduction organization. Wow. And I was just thinking, like, oh, well, this is probably all going to be the same. We don't need to probably go through all of this. Yes, we do. Because what the fuck? That was important. I lied. This is all important. So, fucking, yeah. And he gave 200,000 to Republican politicians and super PACs in 2017, including Paul Ryan and Mike Kaufman. Um, And then, according to Freedom Leaf, a pro-legalization magazine, Anschutz has donated thousands of dollars to anti-drug groups in 2016 alone. The Anschutz Foundation donated 50,000 to SAM Inc. and another 110,000 to its partner organization, Smart Colorado. The report continued. It gave another 50,000 to Smart Colorado in 2015. The goal was to counter the impact of Amendment 64, the recreational marijuana legalization initiative the state's voters passed in 2012. So to me, that's why Upbeat Academy in New Orleans freaks me out so much, because this right here, like, to me, is criminalization of addiction, which is a disease, which is like the encouragement of funding mass incarceration. You know what I mean? And so then Upbeat Academy is all like, yeah, we help people impacted by mass incarceration. Um, you know what I mean? So that's why it's kind of like this like little mind fuck. It's just like so. It's it's what us white people do. It's like this. Why? Um, dude, that's hilarious. So at the last line of this, um, it says, so it seems that Coachella heads won't be able to get high and forget that they're funding the passion politics of an arguably homophobic step to, I cannot pronounce this word. I know it means that you're in your 70s, after all. Septuagenarian? I can't pronounce this word. God damn. That's a hard word. I know that it means you're in your 70s. The fuck? How do you say that though? I I know what words mean. I don't know how to pronounce them. Anywho, okay. So then, this other article is from Jezebel magazine. It's by Hazel Clills. Sills? I'm sorry. I don't know what the fuck I just said. I don't know how to say her last name. Um, it's called Coachella's owner continues to donate to anti-abortion, anti-gay, pro-gun Republican candidates. January 4th, 2018. Now, I have some weird opinions about guns because I was born in the South. You know what the fuck I mean? Like gun culture, So I've used guns. Honestly, a lot of the reasoning people have for wanting guns, um, I think guns should be more regulated than they are, but I'm not entirely against guns. Um, to be honest, I don't really think we currently have the right to really have guns anyway, because hear me out, and this mostly applies at an increased rate, of course, to black people and native people, unfortunately. But um, if you can get shot and killed for the threat of having a gun and it's legally justified by the police, then you don't really have the right to carry arms, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And then you think of the fact, like, you look at warfare, you look at what certain people with certain military powers are able to do with those weapons. Um, sorry for this tangent on guns, but You look at what people are able to do with mass warfare. You look at the mass bombings that are able to occur. On a certain level, the weapons that civilians are allowed to have don't compare to what is possessed by the military, to where our right to bear arms doesn't really protect us from the military or the government, you know? Um, and we live in a society where the right to bear arms and the access to guns actually makes it so more people are hurting each other than anyone's actually protecting themselves if you look at gun stats. So I do have some weird opinions on guns, and they're even, kind of contradicting within myself, because it's like on some levels I agree with guns, on some levels I don't, you know? And so that's like its own weird journey. But I apologize. We're gonna keep going. Let's keep going with this article here. But so everybody now notice all of these articles refer to Philip Anschutz as a climate change denier. I don't recall what specifically what specific reason they have for calling him that. So we'll see if that is in these articles as well. Um, so AEG owns another company called Golden Voice, which operates Coachella along with other festivals like FYF, Panorama, Hangout, and more, in addition to several venues. And Schutz, you know, said that he and his uh, foundation would cease to donating to anti-LGBTQ initiatives. But he still donated to many Republican candidates in 2017, giving nearly 200,000 to politicians and super PACs. Um, he gave 5,400 to Cory Gardner, a pro-gun senator, 2,700 to Scott Tipton, who opposes same-sex marriage and abortion rights, and 5,400 to House member Mike Hoffman, who opposes abortion rights and once suggested that Obama was not born in America. Well, considering he was born in Hawaii, that I guess that is technically correct, because Hawaii is not America. Hawaii is an indigenous nation. So if you want to be technical, yeah, Barack Obama was not born in America, because Hawaii is not America. Hawaii is its own fucking country. Anywho, fucking sorry. And shut. I mean, but then if you want to be technical with the, but then if we're going to go under the colonial settler definition, then I guess he was born in America. But technicalities. Wait, Obama was born in Hawaii, right? Why the fuck do I think that? I'm not googling that right now. I'm gonna just be either really right or really wrong right now. But fucking, I am gaslighting myself. Fucking, I don't know what's real anymore. All right, I'm sorry. I'm kidding, I think. Um, but yeah, he also gave money to Speaker of the House Paul Ryan and 138,000 to the National Republican Senate Committee. So, even though he said he would cease donations to certain organizations, he still continued to support the conservative politicians. And yeah, they make a lot of money off of liberal artists. And some of them have canceled and called them out, but a lot of people who you would think might didn't. Now everybody's saying not every artist can afford to walk away from a literally career-sustaining or rent-paying gig like Coachella. But because Anschutz hasn't changed and probably never will change, is a problem Coachella and its attendees will have to keep dealing with. So that's what I've been saying. It's just like the music industry, and a lot of us in it at this point, that's where I got to really struggling with wanting to survive or build my own career within the music industry, because why would I want to make a living like this? Why would I want to live in a world where the only way I have to build a career is to go against human rights? I can't fucking reconcile with that. I would literally rather die. And so I'm going to do different lives to discuss specifically ways to build a career in the music industry and how to support ethical small businesses in the music industry. I'll do different content on that as well. But I do, in general, already have promoted a lot of content about not only general music marketing, but marketing in general for all businesses as well, um, to counteract these types of specific issues. And I think a balance of it is going to be, part of it is because musicians don't know better. They were never educated on the business, so they take the easy way out. So part of it is, I think, educating people on a better way to do things will help. And then part of it, I think, is going to be getting people to boycott, getting what is, you know what I mean? Biting the bullet. Let's do it, you know? Um, so Billboard magazine published a article, and it's called AEG owner pulls financial support for some anti-LGBTQ groups, but still donated 770,000 in 2016. So that was 2 years before the other article where we read where he said he'd stop doing it. You know what I'm saying? So this has been like a long time in the making, where he keeps saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna stop that." Doesn't stop that. You know what I mean? Like, he's pandering, in my opinion. Um, and so this article was written by Dave Brooks in February 2018. Um, and it basically said, just a year after Phil Anschutz faced intense criticism for giving the money, it's particularly to the people called out by Southern Poverty Law Center. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a big deal to get called out by them. Um, Recent tax filings from Anschutz's foundation showed 770,000 in donations and commitments made to at least 7 groups have been accused by gay rights organizations of making anti-LGBTQ statements in the past. And he also made donations to conservative groups fighting pornography, labor unions, and marijuana legalization. Now, the porn industry is extremely problematic. I don't disagree with the existence of porn, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck, damn. Do you ever? No. But but wait a minute. Cons- Conservative groups fighting labor unions as well. God damn. You really have to be a piece of shit to be fighting labor unions. Like, even if I disagree with somebody fighting pornography or fighting marijuana legalization, I get it. You know what? There's reasons. No, I don't really get marijuana. I can kind of get pornography. But labor unions? Are you kidding me? Okay, so um the contributions, they do make up less than 1% of the charitable donations that he pledged. Um but the vast majority of the donations were given to non-political charities. But that still doesn't discount. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. And it's still a lot of money. Like, think about what's happening with that money. He made a 200,000 pledge in 2016 to focus on the family, an organization that opposes gay marriage and is considered anti-LGBTQ because of its opposition to protections against discrimination and anti-LGBTQ public statements, like a claim that same-sex couples are bad parents. And he also gave $305,000 to Colorado Christian University, which is a private college whose think tank encouraged students to boycott Beauty and the Beast because of an exclusively gay moment in the film, as well as $50,000 to Dare to Share, a ministry run by anti-gay pastor Greg Stier. He also made donations to groups like the Federalist Society, 50,000, which opposed protections for LGBTQ individuals, and published articles claiming that the first trans murder of 2018 was not a hate crime, and that the reported spike in anti-LGBT homicides is fake news. He gave $100,000 to the Heritage Foundation, which opposes same-sex marriages, $25,000 to the American Legislative Exchange Council, which provides religious freedom bill templates to state legislators, allowing private businesses to discriminate against LGBTQ, and $40,000 to a Colorado Springs group calling themselves the Navigator, which preaches Christianity and has criticized gays and lesbians in the past. As well as other conservative causes. For example, $75,000 to the anti-union National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation, $20,000 to Enough is Enough, a group that wants to restrict youth access to pornography, and $15,000 to Denver's Alternative Pregnancy Center, which offers a procedure called abortion pill reversal therapy. That's disgusting. And less people want it, but I bet that's not what they're doing it for. Fucking, yeah. Then Spin, magazine, this was written by Anna Gaka. I don't know if I said that right. But in January 2018, it says the owner of Coachella is still donating hundreds of thousands of dollars to Republicans. Um, so yeah. Fucking So yeah, that's all about. He's been getting a lot of criticism because of the articles coming out. And we discussed these numbers already. A couple others though that we missed were his biggest donations of 2017 went to the National Republican Senatorial Committee, 104,600, and the National Republican Congressional Committee, 33,400, which they aim to protect conservative majorities in their respective houses of Congress. And then Fader magazine has another article. So this one's called Coachella's owner is a Republican megadonor who has funded anti-LGBTQ hate groups. It's by Miles Tanzer. It was written January 2017. So, this article states that Anschutz happens to be one of the United States' biggest Republican donors and has historically given to organizations designated as extremist hate groups by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Between 2010 and 2013, the Anschutz Foundation gave a combined $190,000 to Alliance Defending Freedom, the National Christian Foundation, and the Family Research Council. According to a 2016 report from the LGBT organization Freedom for All Americans, ADF has equated being LGBT with committing incest and bestiality. And that's where Coachella money is going. In the 2016 election season, Anschutz and his wife Nancy donated $1,012,000 to various candidates and PACs, all of which were Republican or Republican aligned. That $1 million plus total made them one of the 100 families who donated the most money during this election cycle. According to the Federal Election Commission, Anschutz gave $500,000 to the Senate Leadership Fund, which is a Republican super PAC that spent $83 million campaigning against Democrats in the 2016 election cycle. Anschutz also gave $20,000 to John Bolton's super PAC, which heavily campaigned on behalf of New Hampshire's Kelly. I don't know how to say this. I'm not gonna try. Ayat. I did try. Fucking. I want to say Ayat like a lote, but I don't know. Fucking. And also spent $125,000 running ads against Catherine Cortez Masto, who just became the first Latina U.S. senator. He did not make any direct donations to Donald Trump during the election. But why did they say direct donations? Does that mean there's something indirectly? Because why even mention it? You know? Because I didn't ask that. Fucking. Oh, okay. Well, he was apparently involved in a conference where there were talks about how to stop Trump from running, apparently. But Anschutz did give 2,000 to Vice President-elect Mike Pence in 2006. These articles they do notice they notice other headliners too, but they keep leading with Beyonce, and I think I honestly am not. It's not lost on me that like in the music industry, most of the representation you see, it's like 90% white in terms of what is charting or successful or trending in the festivals or the charts or whatever. Over historically speaking, there's actually changes to that now that the way we consume music is changing. But it's not lost on me that given this history, with this history in place, that they're singling out the black musicians for why aren't the black people doing more work to stop the white people from being shitty? That's not lost on me. Like in some of the attitudes, with how they discuss the musicians that should be calling out Coachella. In my opinion, I don't know if that's like I'm not decolonized enough to know if that is the right thing for me to be saying though. Um, Anschutz is claiming that once he heard of these types of donations, they immediately ceased all contributions to the groups. However, we're seeing very similar donations over the years, so I feel like he's pandering. Paper Magazine published an article by Beatrice Hazelhurst called "How Does Coachella's Problematic Owner Secure Openly Liberal Artists?" And it was written January 2018. Um, so yeah, it's also discussing how the Fader had reported how much Philip Anschutz, CEO of AEG, and the owner of Golden Voice and Coachella, donated to the Republican Party last year, which was close to 200,000. Um, and this is in addition to the $1 million he contributed to the Republicans during the 2016 campaign. So, um, and those donations are particularly interesting because they're all either anti-LGBTQ rights, anti-abortion, anti-gun control, or all of the above. The Washington Post also revealed, according to Paper Magazine, that um, Philip Anschutz previously donated through his parent company AEG, funding extremist anti-gay, anti-transgender, anti-abortion groups such as the Family Research Council and the National Christian Foundation. Anschutz was also revealed to be one of the biggest donors of the Alliance Defending Freedom, which is reportedly sponsoring more than 200 anti-LGBTQ bills in 34 states, with 17 of those bills specifically targeting transgender Americans. Greenpeace also discovered he's an enemy of the environment, a climate change denier, financing multiple groups who are intent in proving it does not exist, as well as making his money off fossil fuels. So, and it ends with um, this seems to be a clear example of artists and attendees, for that matter, failing to practice what they preach when it's most convenient. I also asked the question, is the allure of the festival's size and prestige enough to ignore the fact that their participation is allowing Anschutz to contribute to politicians and groups that are against everything these acts publicly stand for? Yeah. So another article is by Kelly Tucker. It's from January 5th, 2019, and it's published, uh, I don't know, mxdwn.com. I don't know what the fuck that even means, but oh, Mixdown. Yeah, that makes sense. Music Mixdown. Okay. I don't know what that means. Connects the dots. Okay, so Philip Anschutz of AEG continued to donate to Republican candidates and organizations in 2018 is the headline. And then it says, that he oversees Golden Voice and that it produces Coachella, Panorama, FYF, and other festivals. And he's been in the spotlight because it's been revealed that his private family foundation was giving hundreds of thousands of dollars to groups that promoted LGBTQ discrimination, climate change denial, and other right-wing causes. In a 2016 report from an LA Times article, it was noted that Coachella draws in more than $700 million in revenue to the surrounding area. And that most of the artists and visitors clash with right-wing conservative causes. Theoretically, however, in my opinion, they say they clash with right-wing conservative causes, but if you're financially contributing intentionally to conservative right-wing causes using partying as an excuse, in my opinion, it's like you're going to go party with the KKK. I mean, I'm not calling, some of those people all of that, because that's, I don't know. Maybe that was too extreme of a comparison, because there are certain people involved in the festival that do experience an extreme amount of oppression. And so perhaps it would be wrong for me to compare, those people to the KKK. So I'm not trying to say that. But what I am trying to say is more of like, if I see a group of people in white hoods, I'm going to think they're all in the KKK. You know what I mean? So whenever a group of people are attending an event where money is donated to anti-abortion orgs, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what other words. I don't. This is either like a really good point or a really bad one, but that was either some word vomit or I'm onto something. So I'm gonna move along now. Um, and yeah, I'm either gonna look back on this later and be like, you know what, hell yeah, or I'm gonna try to repress it for the rest of my life. Maybe I'll cut it out. Just kidding. I think I'm kidding, but if a snippet of this live goes missing around here, you know what happened. I'm just kidding. Fucking um well, yeah. I mean, I'm making light of my processing of all of this shit, but I do care to do better if there's a better way for me to be wording these things. Um so yeah, he is known to have funneled 134,000 to the National Republican Senatorial Committee, because apparently he's not donating to the organizations that were the bigotry on their slaves, as if the Republicans don't, but whatever. And so he's still donating to conservative causes and candidates. But yeah, in 2016 he donated over 50,000 to Dare to Share, as we discussed. And Greg Stier in 2008 wrote a blog that said homosexuality is a satanic perversion of God's gift of sex. Oh. This article agrees with me. It considers Anschutz doing damage control by donating to the Elton John's Aid Foundation LGBT fund. Okay, so this is from maryjane.com. It was published January 2018 by Chris Moore. And it says the founder of Coachella Company AEG is founding anti-cannabis campaigns. Um, so yeah, as legalization spreads throughout the United States, many festivals are cracking down on cannabis, which is interesting because on TikTok I saw videos of the searches that are happening to get into the Coachella campground. So, considering the anti-marijuana stance of the owner and reflection of that is interesting to me. Um, and all cannabis is apparently thoroughly prohibited at the event. I'm assuming it still technically is. Because Philip Anschutz has a long history of supporting cannabis prohibition, among other conservative causes. Between 2015 and 2016, Anschutz's federal foundation donated over $200,000 to Smart Approaches to Marijuana and Smart Colorado, two groups fighting against legal cannabis in Anschutz's home state of Colorado. The former oil tycoon's donations also made headlines last year after it was revealed that his foundation had been funding anti-LGBTQ plus groups. The 78-year-old billionaire owns several conservative publications, and his foundation has given financial support to pro-gun and pro-life Republican politicians. Oh, good. He should die soon, right? Yeah. You got like, what, 20 years tops? That's good news. Fucking, alright. Fucking, and then it says AEG themselves have a history of taking aggressive legal action against the cannabis industry. Last year, California cannabis Lowell Farms created a special Coachella blend pack of pre-rolls as well as a cannabis flower crown, a take on the traditional festival headdress packed with a quarter ounce of herb. The company marketed these products on social media using the Coachella hashtag, which drew the immediate ire of AEG. Days before the festival was about to kick off, Lowell Farms received a cease and desist letter from AEG demanding that they remove all social media posts containing the hashtag and immediately stop any Coachella branded merchandise. And then it says AEG and the Anschutz Foundation have both bowed to public pressure regarding their past conservative donations. Because the revelation of Anschutz's anti-LGBTQ plus funding sparked outrage across social media and the press. And then this person ends it with that there's because of all of that, because the AEG announced that they would immediately cease contributions to such groups, even though they really technically didn't. They had hope for that the public support of cannabis would convince the conservative billionaire, you know, um, not to interfere with the cannabis industry. But I doubt that. You know what I mean? Personally, like I don't know. Okay, so another article is from Seattle Weekly. It is written by Drew Atkins from January 2017, and it says activists raise alarm over anti-LGBT ties to AEG, the concert giant behind Bumbershoot. Um, and then it goes on to say, that records show that Philip Anschutz, owner of AEG, has donated large sums to several organizations committed to fighting same-sex marriage and other causes. So this article is talking about how Seattle music festival Bumbershoot was taken over by AEG in 2015, and that AEG also got a lot of their key arena management for their venue, um, and that the county was in business with AEG, which selected AEG to manage their park concert series for Marymore Park concert series, as well as and that they own other prominent concert venues there. However, Equal Rights Washington Board President Lanisha Harrell said that the city should reconsider its relationship with AEG. She said, "This is very problematic," says Harrell. "They always say that when you know better, you need to do better." Actually, I don't know their gender. I said she without thinking about it. But to be honest, I don't know this person's gender. Okay, and then this person said, "Now that this information is coming into the light, this is one of those times that is true. If the head of AEG has a record of supporting those who would do harm to our communities and our rights, we should certainly be looking for another partner for Bumbershoot." I agree with this person. In the Washington Post editorial, Anschutz was named one of the nation's biggest enemies of equality for LGBT Americans. This charge was leveled by national LGBT advocacy group Freedom for All Americans, and it was made in connection to his foundation's donations to three groups: the Alliance Defending Freedom, an advocacy group that compared being LGBT with committing incest and bestiality; the Family Research Council, a think tank that lobbied against gay rights and argues there's a disproportionate overlap between being LGBT and pedophilia; as well as the National Christian Foundation, a philanthropy network that has donated over $163 million to anti-LGBT organizations. Tax records for 2014 showed that the Anschutz Family Foundation has also supported other groups opposed to expanding LGBT rights, as well as organizations that fight environmental protections and oppose labor unions. Anschutz also supported the Institute for American Values, which advocated a ban on gay marriage in California, and donated $10,000 to support a 1992 ballot measure in Colorado, the No Protected Status for Sexual Orientation Amendment, or Amendment 2, which allowed employers to discriminate against LGBT, I keep saying 2 for T, LGBT individuals. So, the mayor of Seattle said that they were aware of Anschutz's political activities. And this Seattle Weekly says that Bumbershoot is a festival that is meant to reflect the city's character. Interesting. Harrell says withdrawing financial support to these groups would be a welcome step, but not enough. "I personally still don't eat at Chick-fil-A," Harrell says, despite its withdrawal of support for anti-gay marriage efforts. "It's not enough for them to say we don't do it anymore. They need to repair the harms they've done. On issues of ethics, it's not enough for them to be neutral or for us as a city to be. Neutrality supports oppression." I agree with you. Come to New Orleans. Okay. I like this line. The Seattle Weekly said, "The disconnect between the generally progressive arts and music scene and Anschutz's political activity is stark." Yeah, I like that line. And then it, reminds us that the former oil mogul and his wife donated over $1 million to Republican candidates and PACs in just the last election cycle. And that Anschutz has been connected to the Koch brothers political network, which supports climate change denial, and was once named America's greediest executive by Fortune. However, artists and fans who wish to avoid supporting Anschutz and AEG may find it difficult because the company's venues and events do account for 61% of ticket sales worldwide. But that doesn't mean consumers and artists can't push the company's founder to reconsider his activities, says Harrell. In cities like Denver, prominent politicians spoke out against Chick-fil-A by questioning whether their corporate profits were being used to fund and fuel discrimination. Seattle must raise such questions as well, she says. I say everybody in the music industry and should. I agree. And then she also says, okay, you know what? I got her pronouns right. And then she also says, I trust the city will continue to be a leader on these things. People can vote with their dollars, and our artists and leaders can say something. Exactly. That's what we should be doing. And so that comes to the point. For the people who know, they are voting with their dollars. They are doing and saying what they agree with, in my opinion, for the people who know. Because to me, I'm sorry, I own my own business. You can, it's hard, but it is too possible to do your own business. You don't have to do this. You don't have to go on this shithole corruption just to have a career. So I hate when people say I have to go do this thing I don't believe in to have a money, because no, you don't. You want to do that. You don't care. You're excusing it, in my opinion. And here's what else I'll say. It's not like it's not like these are struggling people who aren't getting paid. You don't make it to the point of getting booked at festivals without having a history of having built a career in the music industry, unless you're piggybacking off of someone else's career. Okay? So either way, you have to do that groundwork to build a career. So why not just do it ethically to begin with? Like you're doing what you want to do, in my opinion, but that's just me. Okay. And then the Observer, they say this was published by Justin Joff. I think that's how you say that. And this was published January 2017, and it's called Coachella Owner Funds Anti-Gay Climate Change Denying Hate Groups. And it says the phrase "follow the money" comes up time and again in its arts reporting, which is interesting to me because in the description of this video I put we're gonna follow the money. And I put that in here. I did read this a long time ago, but I haven't read this in years, so I think that's funny. And it says when you look at the owner, sponsors, donors, or benefactors supporting any event or organization, the intentions of those moneyed interests will invariably give the public a new perspective. I agree. And he says studying a 990 nonprofit tax form suddenly becomes much less boring, taking on an investigative bent that reveals telling wisdom in whose names are redacted, whose names are among the highest contributing donors, and what those people stand for. So, and AEG stands for Anschutz Entertainment Group. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah. And it's his history of spending money supporting anti-LGBTQ, climate change denying organizations. And here's my thing. Say he, yeah, like I was over here, like, well, it's a good thing he's gonna die. Like, all of the people that work for AEG now are currently in value alignment with him now. If he dies, I don't foresee AEG changing. I foresee them potentially getting sneakier about how they go about things, but these people are in value alignment and in solidarity with Phil Anschutz as he is now. Keep that in mind. Like, I don't foresee any major change to AEG coming. It would have to be dismantled or completely structurally, changed. So he owns several arenas around the world, and he owns the LA Lakers. Didn't know that. What I don't get, there's this line right here where it's talking about how AEG acquired Golden Voice in 2001. And this renewed interest in Anschutz's support of far right organizations. Oh, now I see. Okay. In stark contrast to the festival's forward thinking, inclusive, and seemingly progressive gathering of artists and fans. Oh, yeah, because that other articles, they've been keeping an eye on him since like 1993, because that one article mentioned he's been donating people for a while. So, and then it says stories like this New Yorker profile of Anschutz from 2012 paint a decidedly vile portrait of the former oil tycoon. Anschutz has contributed to the Institute for American Values, whose founder, David Blankenhorn, opposes same-sex marriage, and who testified in a trial on the constitutionality of California's ban on same-sex marriage, known as Proposition 8, in 2010, writes Connie Bruck. And then it says, Anschutz has been a frequent contributor to the National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation, which provides legal aid to employees opposing compulsory unionism. And he has been a major supporter of Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker in his fight against a recall after his efforts last February to eliminate many collective bargaining rights. Anschutz has been a guest at the twice-a-year political gatherings of David and Charles Coe, the secretive anti-government oil billionaires. He has contributed to Americans for Prosperity, backed by the Coe brothers, which lobbies against global warming, science, and for reducing regulation of the oil and gas industry. Anschutz Exploration Corporation recently filed suit in upstate New York to overturn a ban on fracking, a controversial practice in which chemical-laced water and sand are injected into the ground to extract natural gas. Interesting. And then it says, aside from Anschutz's ugly money trail of far-right bankrolling, the New Yorker's profile shows that his business record is equally abhorrent. He's sued the IRS at least 7 times since 1987 to get out of paying taxes. And when a U.S. tax court judge sided with IRS in 2010, Anschutz's company appealed and lost. He was required to pay the government more than $17 million in taxes, and his company was liable for at least $77 million. Mm. Now, this article does say that they think it's important to remember that like Golden Voice um, is not made up of the same folks as AEG. However, I will say that the owners of Golden Voice sold out to AEG. That itself speaks to me what their value alignment is. And if people stayed on for that, that to me speaks to what their value alignment is for reasons I've already discussed. It states that Golden Voice and Coachella provide a much needed platform for independent artists on the rise. However, I disagree because independent artists aren't. Maybe this isn't for Golden Voice because I don't know about Golden Voice, but for Coachella and for AEG, that's not independent artist focused. Yeah, on a certain level, there's a big um there are a lot of opportunities for independent artists with these festivals because they do need a lot of those local placements, you know what I'm saying? But on another level, like earlier we were looking at the numbers for the breakdown for what they're spending on these bigger acts and why these smaller festivals end up going with AEG to get the funding for these bigger acts to pull in more people with all of the tourism and everything like that. Um, so within those regards, like these festivals aren't really focused on the independent artists. They're focused on catering to the larger artists in order to draw crowds. You know what I mean? Um, and I just feel like there's so many independent musicians, independent venues. There's a lot of people you could go support a small local venue and a small independent artist, you know, like that's what the focus needs to be. I don't know. And then it's saying any artist making the decision to cancel their appearance on purely ideological grounds face the potential business repercussions that come along with opting out of a massive opportunity to connect with new audiences. That is some bootlicking shit, okay? Like, purely this that's some cognitive dissonance of, you know, yeah, it's fine to be against human rights issues as long as you are, you know, benefiting. What? I don't understand that logic. I never will. And that's why I hate our fucking society. I don't like that excuse. I think, I hate when people are like, oh, that's just the way the world is. Suck my dick, bitch. Like, fucking, why aren't we trying to change shit? It's, you know what I mean? I don't know. Fucking, anyway. I honestly think all these people who are like, yeah, I'm gonna go party anyway and get money anyway and blah 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 anyway. I don't care what's happening. You know, I just feel like they're fake as fuck. It's just you can't really tell me you care about human rights when you're actively funding being against human rights. You know what I mean? Now, the another portion of this article is discussing about how boycotts could work. You know how they do work, and I think that protests and boycotts can work, but you have to get enough people to want to do it. And I just have never been exposed to the right group of people that would, you know, want to do it. And another thing I'm thinking about is like the way they cater to it is the people they have, you know, like is the type of people who uphold this and excuse it and just, you know what I'm saying? So they admit that it's like some of the people who admit it's problematic, they're like, yeah, I know it's problematic, but I'm going anyway. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because there's so many of those people that either like that or just completely 100% support it entirely. They don't even try to act like they don't support it, you know, like those are the ones who are going and that they're making their money off of, and the ones who do want to boycott it are boycotting it, you know what I'm saying? Like, so my thing is there's just too many people that support white supremacy. But yeah, fucking. And then another article, Digital Music News, wrote an article. Paul is from Paul Resnikoff. I don't know if I said that right. And it's called "Turns Out Coachella's Owner Donated 200,000 to Anti-Marijuana Organizations." Um, and so yeah, and so this is basically like it said we were surprised to learn that Coachella was banning marijuana despite California legalization. Now we think we figured out why. And it's talking about how smoking weed and music festivals go hand in hand and stuff at Coachella. But according to this article, the festival says that medical marijuana cards are not valid at Coachella. I feel like that should be locked up. Like, if it's your medicine, it's your medicine, dude. The fuck? Anyway. So initially, people thought that the ban was tied to the host city of Coachella, but the California law would let that be legal. So a better explanation would be the owner itself. According to the work that we've discussed, by Freedom Leaf, Coachella owner Philip Anschutz, he donated 200,000 to anti-marijuana causes 2016, and this was funneled to anti-pot organizations in Colorado. And this is a state that famously legalized the substance. Um, and Phil Anschutz, he's a multi-billionaire. He controls the venue and events empire, AEG, and he controls Coachella. It's one of the most popular music festivals in the world. So Freedom Leaf's Doug McVeigh, who is an anti-drug war activist, writes, while Coachella's marijuana ban is standard festival policy, it's not widely known that AEG founder Philip Anschutz's private family foundation has donated thousands of dollars to anti-drug groups over the last few years, including Kevin Savett's SAMS Inc., Smart Approaches to Marijuana, and Smart Colorado. According to its tax returns in 2016, the Anschutz Foundation donated 50,000 to SAM Inc. and another 110,000 to its partner organization Smart Colorado. It gave another 50,000 to Smart Colorado in 2015. The goal was to counter the impact of Amendment 64, the recreational marijuana legalization initiative the state voters passed in 2012. Um, And then it says, meanwhile, Anschutz is on the defensive for donating hundreds of thousands to anti-LGBTQ causes. That's just one part of a donation tree that is riling Coachella attendees. Other Anschutz donations include money for a birther politician who blasted Obama as not an American, among other suspect causes. And after Anschutz tried to say this was all fake news, even more donations quickly surfaced. But these controversies have little impact on Coachella attendance. And then this ends with the question is whether that sentiment continues in future years, especially as more tax filings come to light. I tried to look for more tax filings. So everything that we're looking at, so we got like between 5 and 10 right up until we get to this Reddit post. So all of this content I've looked at before from this Reddit post on through, except for my own sites right here. These two are my website. So obviously I've seen my own website before, but from all of these through right here, like I haven't seen this yet. So, um, all right. So then Complex Magazine. This was, whoops, I don't know what the fuck I just hit. Complex Magazine. This was written by Joshua Espinoza, and it was published January 2018. It's called "The Owner of a Coachella is Still Giving His Money to Pro-Gun, Anti-LGBT Birther Politicians." So yeah, he had donated up to 190,000 to conservative groups. Um, and he donated 200,000 to Republican politicians and super PACs throughout 2017. And this included a pro-gun Colorado senator who was given 5,400. We've already discussed all these numbers. The Scott Tipton, the congressman who opposed same-sex marriage and abortion, 2,700, and Mike Kaufman, pro-life birther, 5,400, as well as Deb Fisher and House Ryan. So those politicians received money directly from Anschutz. And then the biggest donations were made through the Anschutz Corporation, which handed over 138,000 to the National Republican Senate Committee. So all of these donations are coming not only from directly from the Anschutz family themselves, but also from their corporation. And this is an organization that they want to increase their Republican Senate majority. And then two tweets about this. One says it's from Green Eggs and Cam, and it says it's kind of funny / sad. The owner of Coachella donates money to all these right-wing organizations. And another one is from I'm Gab, and it says Coachella lineup looks so bomb, but I wouldn't throw my money away for a homophobic owner of this. Like, hell nah, you're supposed to express yourself at a festival and feel free, but nah, I pass. And then NME, I'm not sure what that stands for. NME published an article by Andrew Trendell, January 2017, and it says Coachella and AEG owner accused of funding anti-LGBT and climate change denial groups. And it says the man who runs Coachella's parent company AEG has been accused of donating funds to groups who take a strong stance against LGBTQ and climate change issues. And it goes on to say earlier this week, the Coachella 2017 lineup was revealed. And then it says in the wake of the news, it has been reported that the owner of Coachella's parent company, Philip Anschutz, has been a prolific donor to some highly controversial causes. And he says now he's revealed that he's actively funded the Alliance Defending Freedom, the Family Research Council, the National Christian Foundation, and these three groups, they're known to lobbying campaign against LGBTQ rights. Many of the policies listed, they've been viewed as anti-gay rights, anti-transgender rights, and anti-abortion. Um, And then it goes on to say, his extensive influence in Colorado politics has been known for years, but the degree of his support for anti-LGBTQ groups that fund extremist hate groups like um, Gordon Klingschmidt's plain Jean's name is shocking. And then it says at a time in American history when discrimination and violence against LGBTQ citizens is on the rise, support for pro-discrimination groups puts Anschutz on the wrong side of Colorado and on the wrong side of history. And then Greenpeace previously described him as a financier of climate science denial groups. Okay. And then Your EDM posted in January 2018 from their staff. It says reports expose AEG CEO Philip Anschutz's continued donations to Republican politicians and super PACs in 2017. And then it says, while it's a new year, some things haven't changed. And it's, let's see. And it says around the same time in 2017, the reports had surfaced about AEG Philip Anschutz, one of the big wigs, behind Coachella, and donating tons of money towards groups that actively oppose LGBTQ communities and climate change. And he denied such claims. But now we're having deja vu. So, Anschutz gave 187,000. So this is a year after he said he would stop doing all of this. This is the next year. Keep that in mind if you're paying attention to the timeline here. Okay, and it says Anschutz has given $187,300 to super PACs and Republican politicians. So he's giving $1,100,000 every year to these people. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this includes funds to Senator Cory Gardner, who came out as against gun control after the Las Vegas mass shooting, Congressman Scott Tipton, who opposes same-sex marriage and abortion, U.S. Representative Mike Coffman, anti-abortion advocate, Senator Deb Fischer, who is pro-life, and Speaker of the House Paul Ryan, who recently passed a controversial tax bill. In recent history, his biggest donations went to the Anschutz corporations, which passed along $138,000 to the National Republican Senate Committee. And this is a year after where he says we will immediately cease all contributions to such groups. So yeah. Liar! That was pandering. So Alexander Graham Bell of him, am I right? Okay, and then Denver 7 published, so it's like an ABC thing, I think. This is from Blair Miller from November 2017. So this is a few months before this other article. And it says single donor gave $28.5 million to dark money group touting Gorsuch for Supreme Court. So Neil Gorsuch is one of the Supreme Court judges who voted against having rights to abortion. So he is part of why we have the abortion ban. And it says a single person gave $28.5 million to a nonprofit whose dark money was eventually used to buy ads touting Colorado's Neil Gorsuch for the U.S. Supreme Court seat that he was confirmed to. The committee received more than $32 million in donations, and it was mostly anonymously donated because of the organization's social welfare status. Most of the $32 million came from one donor who shelled out $28.5 million. And this was then donated to the Judicial Crisis Network, which was originally created to confirm the judiciary appointees of George W. Bush, and spent $7 million in advertising against President Barack Obama's appointment to the Supreme Court, Merrick Garland. After Trump named Gorsuch as his pick for the Supreme Court in January, the Judicial Crisis Network launched a website called confirmgorsuch.com. Wellspring in the past has had ties to the Koch brothers. Isn't that interesting? The release came a week after Gorsuch was probed by the Senate Judiciary Committee as part of his confirmation process. In the hearing, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, Democrat, Rhode Island, asked about the dark money groups that were spending money on trying to get him confirmed, specifically naming Philip Anschutz, whom Gorsuch represented while working as a Washington lawyer and who also worked to get Gorsuch nominated to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, according to the New York Times. When Whitehouse asked Gorsuch if Anschutz was one of the donors, Gorsuch said you'd have to ask them, referring to the spending groups like the Judicial Crisis Network, according to a report from Slate. I can't because I don't know who they are, Whitehouse retorted. It's just a front group. So there are people out there, this article kind of can shows some of the connections that they've had, and some other people who think that that donation might be connected to Anschutz. I didn't say it. I mean, I just read what was in front of me. Okie dokie. So, this other article from Fader is called Coachella owner Philip Anschutz has long-standing ties to Trump's Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch. It's by Ben Dandridge Limco, and it's from April 2017. And it says Gorsuch has represented companies controlled by the billionaire on multiple occasions and was elevated to a federal court position at Anschutz's recommendation. Following the announcement of Coachella's 2017 lineup in January, the outlets reported on the festival owner's Philip Anschutz's recent history of donations to anti-LGBTQ organizations. He made his fortune as an energy executive, and he now owns a major portion of the live music business through Anschutz Entertainment Group, and has now become a relevant figure in the contentious confirmation hearings for Trump's Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch. As the New York Times and Pitchfork reported, Gorsuch first represented Anschutz and a business he owned in 2004, successfully arguing in favor of an Anschutz-controlled company that was being sued by the Teachers Retirement System of Louisiana for providing Anschutz, who owned a 58% share in the company, a $373 million payout. Gorsuch again represented Anschutz the following year during an insider trading scandal at his Quest Communications company. Anschutz settled for it's Anschutz or Anschutz? Anschutz settled for $4.4 million in the suit, but was not found guilty of any wrongdoing in the case. There's a typo here. Anschutz also played a role in Gorsuch's nomination to a federal court seat. In 2006, a top lawyer for Anschutz wrote a letter to George W. Bush's White House legal counsel on Anschutz's behalf. The letter, written by Bruce Black, who now serves as the executive vice president and general counsel for the Anschutz Corporation, recommended Gorsuch for a seat on the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. During his tenure as an appeals court judge, Gorsuch rescued himself from a number of cases involving Anschutz, according to a list he gave to the Senate. He was asked directly about his ties to Anschutz during his confirmation hearings. When Senator Patrick Leahy of Vermont asked Gorsuch if he would recuse himself from the Supreme Court cases involving Anschutz, Gorsuch did not answer directly, instead saying that he would refer to the law and his colleagues before making a decision. New York Senator Chuck Schumer brought up Gorsuch's controversial career ascension during a news conference on March 29th. Let's look at how Judge Gorsuch got to this point, he said. He was recommended for the federal bench by Philip Anschutz, a hard right special interest billionaire. Then he was handpicked for the Supreme Court by the right-wing special interest-laden Heritage Federal by the right-wing special interest-laden Heritage Foundation and Federalist Society. I cannot speak. Read my mind. Schumer continued. Now millions of dollars in undisclosed special interest donations are being used to prop up his nomination. Americans deserve to know who is funding this effort to get George Gorsuch on the highest bench in the land. Trump chose Gorsuch as the nominee to the Supreme Court in January after Republicans declined to meet with Obama's choice for the court, Merrick Garland. Senate Democrats have called Gorsuch's nomination into question due to his past rulings on hot-button issues, as well as his overwhelming support from the Federalist Society and the Heritage Foundation, two organizations that receive funding from Anschutz, as well as the millions of dollars in donations from undisclosed donors that have gone towards supporting his nomination. On Monday, Senate Democrats secured enough votes to filibuster Gorsuch's nomination when it comes to floor for a vote later this week. Republican leaders and the senators have promised to override the filibuster, even if that means changing Senate rules to allow for Gorsuch to be confirmed with a simple majority of 51 votes. So, reflecting on all of this, that's why I feel so intensely about how, like, yeah, it really does fucking matter where our money is going. And no, I can't just excuse, going to the music festival and supporting all of this and letting it happen because of the human rights issues. Because, yeah, all of this led to the abortion ban. This is all what set up the abortion ban. This impacts us in real life. People funding Coachella, Buku, Jazz Fest, all of that are literally paying for the abortion ban. Things like that. You know what I'm saying? When you look at the trail, when you look at what you're supporting, what are you supporting? This is it. But you know what I'm saying? Okay. I'm gonna link this other article from New York Times. It's called Neil Gorsuch has a web of ties to Secretive Billionaire. Um, but it's paywalled. It's from March 2017, but there's like a paywall or whatever. So, no, there's not a paywall. You can create a free account and get in, but I'm not fucking doing that. So I'm gonna link this in the description because I had read this before. So Salon had published an article, and it's called Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch has close ties to conservative megadonor activist Philip Anschutz. And this was written by Matthew Raza, and it was published March 2017. And it says Judge Gorsuch has connections to a Colorado billionaire activist with staunchly conservative economic views. So, President Donald Trump's pick for the Supreme Court, Judge Neil Gorsuch, has been variously criticized as too liberal or too conservative, in some cases as simply being a slap in the face of good governance. Yet now there is a new controversy emerging around Gorsuch, the Supreme Court nominee who's replacing Obama's Supreme Court nominee Merrick Garland. He has a long-lasting connection to Colorado billionaire Philip F. Anschutz. Anschutz, whose business empire ranges from real estate and telecommunications to railroads and oil and gas, is first known to have been connected to Gorsuch in the early 2000s, when Gorsuch represented both Anschutz and his companies as an outside counsel from the firm Kellogg Huber, according to the New York Times. Giving Anschutz's ownership of conservative publications like the Weekly Standard and the Washington Examiner, it is quite likely that he shares a sense of ideological kinship with Gorsuch, who has long been on the conservative end of the political spectrum. Anschutz's support played a key role in Gorsuch's nomination to a federal appeals court in 2006. President Trump's list of potential Supreme Court nominees was given to him by the Federalist Society and the Heritage Foundation, both of which received donations from Anschutz. Although it is unclear whether Gorsuch and Anschutz are friends, Anschutz is notoriously private. Gorsuch has frequently spoken at Anschutz's lavishest retreats at his 60 square miles Eagle's Nest Ranch. Similarly, Gorsuch shares a limited liability company with two of Anschutz's lieutenants, the Times notes, with the three of them co-owning a 40-acre property in the Colorado mountains. While Gorsuch's past with Anschutz is not necessarily unusual, it is concerning that, as the Times reported, the judge appears to be leaving the door open to participating in Anschutz-related cases on the Supreme Court. That could pose a conflict of interest if Gorsuch fails to adequately address it. Yeah. If a case, I'm gonna look into if there's any cases related to Gorsuch and Anschutz in the Supreme Court, because I'm kind of curious. And if one ever does pop up, I'm definitely gonna fucking cover it. Okay, so everything we discussed up to this point is all material I've covered before. And so now we're gonna move into uncharted waters, so to speak. Um, So everything that I've talked about is published by news outlets and media outlets, regardless of what you think about the credibility of those sources. Um, they are published, they're not they're not just published on a social media platform, they are published by news outlets. Um, I am now sharing one Reddit post. Most of this material is all, from news outlets. I'm going to share something from Reddit because this is what we've been discussing, and I just feel like this Reddit article is really good. I'm not going to read the entire thing, so I do recommend you pause to read. But it's what I've been talking about. Okay, so, or I might end up reading it. I don't fucking know, but let's see. Okay, so it's in the thread R Music. It was published 2 years ago by the Redditor Denise Tipton. And it's a discussion of an article. And she says, well, I don't know their pronouns, but they said Coachella's parent company is donating major cash to a political organization pushing anti-abortion agenda. And then it says the Anschutz Corporation, which owns concert giant AEG Live and its subsidiary Golden Voice, gave $75,000 to the Republican Attorneys General Association days after Roe v. Wade was overturned. Wait a minute, did we look at this article already? Oh, okay. We're going to look at this next. On June 24th, the day the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, the Republican Attorneys General Association reached out to its supporters with an urgent plea for money. Every donation will help Republican Attorneys General combat the Democrats' pro-abortion agenda and stand tall for life. Several days later, on June 29th, according to a filing submitted to the IRS in July, the Anschutz Corporation, a massive holding company that famously owns the live music giant AEG Presents, the parent company of several major festivals, including Coachella, made a donation of $75,000 to Republican Attorneys General Association. So all of this is super monumental to me because when Roe versus Wade got overturned, um, and then Jazz Fest was coming up and Buku was coming up, I got super triggered at the time, and I was over here like I was posting online like, if you're going to these festivals, you are part of why Roe versus Wade got overturned. And everybody was telling me I'm overreacting. I'm making something over nothing. Blah, 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 blah. But seeing this other person publish this perspective makes me feel less like um makes me feel less I don't know, like I'm not fucking crazy, less gaslit, I guess, like someone else is seeing what I'm seeing. You know what I mean? Okay. And then it says the money from Anschutz company the money from Anschutz Corporation comes as Republican Attorneys General Association gears up for election season with the aim of installing attorneys generals who will enforce and champion anti-abortion laws in key states where abortion rights remain in limbo, such as Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Ohio, and Florida. The Anschutz Corporation denies that it or its owner received, saw, or was aware um, of the Republican Attorneys General Association fundraising solicitation, noting in a statement to Rolling Stone that they have been donating to Republican Attorneys General Association since 2014, and that as a personal matter, Philip Anschutz believes in a woman's rights to choose and did not support the reversal of Roe. Well, then why the fuck did you give money for it? And why the fuck have you been supporting anti-abortion organizations, dipshit? Like, to me, that's just hypocritical and pandering and trying to cover your ass because follow the money. Like, you can't say you believe one thing and give your money to another, to me, in my opinion. Um, okay. And then it continues. Republican Attorneys General Association opposition to abortion rights is well established. Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch, a member of Republican Attorneys General Association, was in charge of the legal strategy to eliminate the constitutional right to an abortion in Dobbs versus Jackson Woman Health Organization, the Supreme Court case that overturned Roe. In July 2021, 24 of the 26 other members of Republican Attorneys General Association submitted an amicus brief in support of Fitch. The court's abortion precedent is erroneous, inconsistent, uneven, and unreliable. The Republican Attorneys General wrote, Roe and Casey should be overruled. The only current members of Republican Attorneys General Association that didn't sign the brief were New Hampshire Attorney General John Formella, who assumed office in April 2021, and Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares, who was elected after the brief was signed. AEG Presents and its subsidiary Golden Voice, which presents Coachella and Stagecoach, are just a couple of stars in the massive galaxy that is Anschutz Corporation's holdings. Still, it is notable that Anschutz revenues will be used by Republican Attorney General Association to support these efforts, when part of that revenue is driven by ticket sales to concerts and festivals headlined by major artists who have been fiercely critical of conservative attacks on reproductive rights. After a draft opinion of Dobbs leaked back in May, at least 15 artists who performed at Coachella this year, including Billie Eilish, Megan Thee Stallion, and Phoebe Bridgers, signed a full-page ad in the New York Times condemning the court's actions. Our power to plan our own futures and control our own bodies depends on our ability to access sexual and reproductive health care, including abortion, the artist said in the ad. We will not back down, and we will not go back. After the actual ruling was handed down, Harry Styles, another Coachella 2022 headliner, wrote on Twitter that he was devastated by the decision. Eilish, who performed at Glastonbury in the UK the day the decision was announced, told the crowd, Today is a really, really dark day for women in the US. And Megan Thee Stallion also used her Glastonbury performance to proclaim, and I want to have it on the motherfucking record that the hot boys and the hot girls do not support this bullshit that y'all campaign for. My body is my motherfucking choice. Other Coachella 2022 performers who spoke out against the Dobbs ruling or have supported pro-choice efforts in the past include Maggie Rogers, Phineas, Arcade Fire, and Kim Petras. Beyond Coachella, the outspoken artist Maren Morris also played the AEG Golden Voice Country Festival Stagecoach this year. Brandi Carlile, who criticized the Dobbs decision, was scheduled to play Stagecoach too, but had to cancel due to COVID-19. And politically minded acts like Halsey, Green Day, Dua Lipa, Charlie, shit, man. What the fuck is 10x10? Damn. like 10, 50, 10? I don't fucking know. Or is that supposed to be like 45? Or is that like I suck at Roman numerals. I said this before. Didn't I say this before? Charlie XCX. Um, Young Blood and Willow are playing AEG's Firefly Festival in Dover, Delaware in September. Sorry, that just ruined that whole fucking thing. But whatever. Let that marinate. Anywho, so reps for all of those people. So I was about to say bitches because that's just me, but I didn't want to call them bitches, but I was just calling them bitches. They did not comment according to their representatives. They were not available. So, in a statement to Rolling Stone, AEG responded as follows. AEG presents Golden Voice and its other subsidiaries as one company stands firmly in support of a woman's right to choose. As owner and producer of many of the most inclusive festivals and venues on the planet, we have taken strides to make our position on this clear. On June 28, in the wake of the troubling overturning of Roe v. Wade, and with the full support of the Anschutz Corporation, we informed all of our employees that we will be covering travel and lodging expenses for women who need to leave their home state for reproductive health services, including abortion. We remain, as ever, committed to choice, freedom, and access to full reproductive health options for women. In March 2022, records show that Anschutz Corporation also contributed a combined $750,000 to the Senate Leadership Fund and the House Leadership Fund, super PAC seeking to put Republicans back in control of the House and Senate. Senator Mitch McConnell has said that if his party regained control of Congress, he would consider a national abortion ban. That the Anschutz Corporation donated $75,000 to Republican Attorneys General Association and any larger amounts to other Republican committees should not be a surprise. The company, which is owned by 82-year-old billionaire Philip Anschutz, has garnered plenty of attention and notoriety in the past for donations to right-wing groups, though his representatives have noticed that he has also given to many other groups and tell Rolling Stone he does not review or support each of the positions taken by these groups. Then why the fuck are you giving them money, dipshit? The Anschutz Corporation statement in full reads, as a personal matter, Philip F. Anschutz believes in a woman's rights to choose and did not support the reversal of Roe. Then why the fuck did he put Gorsuch? Oh my god. Neither the Anschutz Corporation or Mr. Anschutz received, saw, or was aware of a Republican Attorneys General Association fundraising solicitation based on the reversal of Roe v. Wade. The Anschutz Corporation has contributed to the Republican Attorneys General Association since at least 2014. No contribution to the Republican Attorneys General Association by the Anschutz Corporation or Mr. Anschutz has been based upon, informed by, or motivated by any Republican Attorneys General Association position on Roe or abortion. Mr. Anschutz makes contributions to numerous organizations, usually for specific reasons. He does not review or support each of the positions taken by such organizations. I'm sorry, but donating, I get one time, like every now and then, if you have that much money and you're donating that much, I do understand, like every now and then you accidentally donate to somebody, you find out later that they're not value aligned and you're like, oh shit, I'm not donating to those bitches again, fuck them. That I do get, but at the same time, it's like, no, we've reviewed the history of how much this fucker is donating and to who. Like, don't gaslight us. Anywho, um, and then it goes on to say, in 2017, Anschutz was criticized after his foundation reportedly donated to anti-LGBTQ groups, including the Alliance Defending Freedom, the National Christian Foundation, and the Family Research Council. Anschutz denied accusations that he was anti-LGBTQ, calling the claims fake news and adding, I unequivocally support the right of all people without regard to sexual orientation. Okay, what about funding, assholes? At the time, Anschutz said he would stop funding any groups involved in anti-LGBTQ activities. That was a lie. And while contributions to the aforementioned groups did stop, no, it didn't, because we can prove that it didn't. Pitchfork reported in 2018 that Anschutz was still giving money to smaller organizations with a history of anti-LGBTQ statements and activities. That's what I'm saying. That's the same thing. Among them were the popular Christian youth ministry Youth Life, the Christian youth ministry Young Life, which as of last year was welcoming LGBTQ youth but not allowing them to serve as volunteers or staff members. Following Pitchfork's report, a lawyer for Anschutz said, "We are proud of the progress we have made in this regard, but there is always room for improvement." Like many corporations after the Dobbs ruling, AEG promised last month to cover travel and lodging expenses for employees whose access to reproductive health care is under threat. "We understand that the issue of reproductive rights is so deeply important to our employees, and we are committed to supporting you and your family with health care that continues to provide medical and prescription coverage for reproductive health services, including abortions," the company wrote in an email viewed by Rolling Stone. The upcoming election in Wisconsin is a clear example of how critical attorneys general races will be in a post-Roe world. The state's current Attorney General, Democrat Josh Kaul, has said that he would not investigate or prosecute anyone in violation of the state's 1849 law banning abortion, which remained on the books but was not enforced after Roe was decided in 1973. Kaul also recently sued to block the ban after it was triggered by Dobbs. The three Republicans aiming to unseat Kaul this November have all said that they would enforce the state's abortion ban if elected. And regardless of who wins the Republican primary for Attorney General next month, the Republican Attorney General's Association will be ready to provide help, having already reserved $682,250 in TV ad time for spots opposing Kaul to run in October and November. So yeah. And I am now processing. I'm pretty sure that this is this. Oh, you have to subscribe to read the full story. So yeah, thank you, Denise, for posting that for us. Thank you, Denise Tipton. Alrighty. So close to being done here. Just want to wrap up some final thoughts and then we will skedaddle. So, this next article is from Out.com and it says boycotting Coachella's problematic owner is more complicated than it seems. And it's written by Miles Tanzer. Wait, did I already read this? Or am I reading another article by this dude? Why do I feel like I already read this? No, I don't think I read this. Okay. So, it's because it all feels the same. It's a broken record. We're on loop. So the point of this article is saying, even though ignoring Coachella wouldn't be too hard for a casual music fan, an all-out boycott of AEG is near impossible for someone who enjoys live music or events. I disagree personally. And then it said, for an artist, boycotting AEG would be a Herculean task. I personally disagree. And then it says, to understand why it's so hard to take a stand against AEG, you have to understand just how powerful a force of entertainment it is. A rep for AEG and Anschutz did not return a request for comment. I think AEG makes it easy for people who don't know how to do business to take the easy way out of piggybacking off of corrupt money to fund their lifestyle. But that doesn't mean it's, not impossible to make a living otherwise. So, and it says if you live in a metropolitan area and you look up the major venues around you, there's a good chance they're owned by two companies, AEG or Live Nation. As a music industry source who prefer to remain anonymous because of the power AEG experts over the industry explained to Out on Thursday night, exerts over the industry explained it Out Thursday night. If you're good for selling about 1,000 tickets in a city, you're going to play an AEG room or a Live Nation room. Essentially, we're talking about the difference between Coke and Pepsi. The reality is that AEG controls all of the larger and high quality venues in major markets in the US and a bunch of important venues worldwide. The Staples Center in LA, the Barclays Center in New York, and the O2 in London, for example. In 2016, it absorbed Bowery Presents, which also gave the company control of most of the popular small club venues along the East Coast. Okay, but here's what I'm saying. I would rather artists book several nights at a smaller venue, sell all of those bitches out. You know what I'm saying? Half of these artists, like, only a small percentage of artists can actually sell out all of these tickets anyway. A lot of artists, they're booking venues they can't even really actually fill and shit. And they're not like, I don't know. Alright, so we're gonna keep going. So then it says, the AEG has since expanded considerably in the South. Because of the size and scale of AEG's assets, if you go see a touring act of almost any popularity in the United States, you're probably giving AEG your money. This is true. Based on the way the current music industry is set up and based on how the AEG is monopolized, based on this current record label contracts, that's how it's set up to be. However, for new independent artists, it is possible for you to take a new path. So even though I'm discussing how the industry has been built, this isn't the only way, you know? Okay, and then it goes. Through its promotions business, AEG Live, the company is also pretty much in a league of its own. According to the tracking service Polestar, AEG was the second biggest concert promoter in the world in 2018. The company sold a staggering 11 million tickets, ranking only behind 11 blah 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 blah, ranking only behind Live Nation, which owns Ticketmaster and does 5 times the amount of ticket sales as AEG. And then there's the festivals. Coachella is just one of the company's hit properties, which also includes, a bunch of others. In from Firefly, Tyler the Creator's Camp Flog Gnaw, Carnival, and the legendary New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. As an artist, speaking out against just one festival can ensure that you couldn't get booked at any of the others, or worse, at any of the company's venues across the world. But AEG's dominance stretches much further than the music. The company owns or has a significant ownership in sports teams like the LA Lakers and the LA Kings. They also own a couple of media subsidiaries, including Ken Ehrlich's Productions, which has produced the Grammys for the last 39 years. As these are all owned by the same company, criticizing one, coming out against Coachella, could have damning repercussions for relationship with another arm being blacklisted from an event like the Grammys. I would rather be blacklisted from the Grammys than be supporting anti-LGBTQIA orgs, though. Fuck you bitches. Continuing on. And then it says, AEG and AEG Live are only small parts of Anschutz's empire. Forbes estimates Anschutz, who got his start from oil and telecom fortunes, has a net worth of $11.2 billion. Bloomberg pegs him as the 100th richest person in America, and he is one of the largest landowners in the United States. And even though they did give $1 million to Elton John's Aid Foundation, AEG is involved in promoting Elton John's 3-year-long farewell tour, and that musician has a long history of being involved with them. And that's why Anschutz's statement regarding his donation to the Elton John Foundation is hard to take seriously because of his contributions to the Republican Party. through the 2018 election cycle, he gave 325,000 in donations to his party of choice and its various candidates. That includes 5,400 to Paul Ryan, who has a long history of anti-LGBT politics, and 138,000 to the National Republican Congressional and Senate committees in February 2017. The um yeah, and that the latter was done the same week that Trump's first cabinet members are being confirmed. And then it says, looking at the company's holdings and Anschutz's power, it's not hard to see why artists haven't taken the chance to speak out against the festival or AEG in general. When Anschutz's anti-LGBTQ donations came to light in 2017, there wasn't a single artist on the announced bill who dropped out. No major or headlining artist spoke out in 2018 when Anschutz's support of anti-LGBT and anti-abortion candidates was reported as well. Rock band Downtown Boys did release an open letter denouncing the festival after their two performances in 2017. Actress Cara Delevingne, I don't know how to say that, also publicly pledged her support to the Coachella movement in 2018, but later received some criticism posted on Instagram, fawning over Beyonce's headlining set. One major music industry publicist who also wished to remain anonymous for fear of retribution um, told out that rather than a public boycott, there might be artists that have rejected Coachella's offers to appear and we just don't know about them yet. Although he hasn't heard of any artist doing this in his exact situation, he said he's seen acts quietly reject offers for other social issues and aversions to specific companies in the past. He also added that a boycott for an artist might not be the most effective route in this particular case. If I were working with an artist on the bill that wanted to make a statement about it, I would advise them to do the festival and then make the statement at the festival and then donate the money they made it from to a charitable organization, the publicist said. Um, I can see some pros and cons to that take. I can think of reasons to support it and think of reasons to disagree with it, to be honest. Um, because, for example, to support it, like if you're that's probably going to be the most effective way to make a protest heard to the festival's audience. Pro. Con. Con. Um, it is normalizing upholding something you admit that is oppressive but isn't changing. Or it could be. I, I would say an individual statement wouldn't necessarily be supporting it. It could be a protest, but a continued. I don't know. Like if you continuously get booked at these festivals, but every time you're just like, yeah, fuck these festivals, but I'ma still play. You know what I mean? That's like that is not even real. But okay. Halsey did something like that with the Victoria's Secret fashion show. And he said that could burn some bridges with AEG, but if you feel that you're passionate about it, that's probably going to be the most effective route for making a statement. I would say that depends on to who your audience is. And then it says, for LGBTQ plus people who want to take a stand against Anschutz, it's a complicated question. Are we supposed to bar ourselves from some of the events we love because they enrich someone who spends his money waging wars against us? Perhaps the best solution was floated by singer-songwriter Mitski when she found out about Anschutz's donation in 2017 after she already agreed to play Coachella. She told her fans on Twitter they had the option not to attend, but if they wanted to, she said, let's make sure the spaces we inhabit are made safe. In this capitalist hellscape, it's the work of the fans and artists working together to just make the best of things. I disagree with that. She's saying, "Hey, how is that a safe space if you are funding? You know what I'm saying? Like if you are supporting the funding of taking away your rights, how is that a safe space?" So to me, that is hypocritical, and that is what I hate about the world. Like, what? That is why that's just this bullshit. Fuck that. Okie dokie. Lily Wakefield wrote an article for the Pink News called Coachella owner Philip Anschutz donated 1 million to anti-LGBT causes in 2018. And this was published February 2020. Yeah. Now, and here it is. It says billionaire Philip Anschutz, whose portfolio includes Coachella and London's O2 Arena, gave more than 1 million to anti-LGBT plus causes in 2018, despite previously denying the donations. Now, as of October 2019, the 80-year-old Christian conservative was ranked by Forbes as the 41st richest person in the U.S. with a net worth of $11.5 billion. Wow. Anschutz, the head of Anschutz Entertainment Group, was previously accused of making donations to anti-LGBT plus hate groups like Alliance Defending Freedom and the Family Research Council via the Anschutz Foundation. The revelations originally came from a 2013 tax return released by Freedom for All Americans, a political action group that had looked at funding for a number of the most influential and powerful anti-LGBT groups in the U.S. Anschutz called the allegations fake news and furiously denied the claims, saying that AEG would immediately cease all contributions to groups which finance anti-LGBTQ initiatives. He later gave 1 million to the Elton John AIDS Foundation and said, I support the rights to all of people and oppose discrimination and intolerance against the LGBTQ community. But now, according to Billboard, tax returns from AEG between December 2017 and November 2018 show that the anti-LGBT plus donations have not stopped. And while the document does not show donations to FRC and ADA, it does show that the Coachella owners company gave 1 million to Colorado Christian University for a new student center. The university threatened students with suspension and expulsion, and I cannot speak, with suspension and expulsion for same-sex sexual activity and dressing or acting differently than the biological gender that God created a student to be. According to CCU's student handbook, sexual intercourse and other forms of sexual contact to the unique expression of covenanted love within heterosexual marriage and are oriented toward family life. The university will not tolerate premarital or extramarital sexual activity, whether between a man and a woman or between two people of the same gender. It adds, when a student decides to identify as a gender other than their biological one, by requesting a change of pronouns or surgical response to their sense that they are in the wrong body, it is in theirs and the university's best interest for them to leave the university community. Wow. It is also in the best interest of the university and the student for them to separate themselves from the CCU community as she or he pursues a medical course of action to physically change their biological gender to that of another sex. AEG also gave 20,000 to Sky Ranch Christian camps. The camp says on its website that it believes that God has established marriage as a lifelong exclusive relationship between one man and one woman, and that all intimate sexual activity outside the marriage relationship, whether heterosexual, homosexual, or otherwise, is immoral and therefore sin. It adds, we believe that God created the human race, male and female, and that all conduct with the intent to adopt a gender other than one's birth gender is immoral and therefore sin. The Anschutz Foundation told Billboard, presently less than 5% of the average annual grants awarded by the foundation go to conservative or faith-based organizations. In 2018, Cara Delevingne, boycotted Coachella because it was owned by Anschutz amid accusations of his donations to anti-LGBT plus causes. I agree with this article. I do not like the way it ended because I just really feel like that's not how you end an article. This is a great article, super informative, super educational. But I feel like the conclusion is missing a feeling of completion to the point of it. Okie dokie. So the Pink News also wrote another, obviously, they also published another article, but they published an article by Emily Chuddy, July 22, called Coachella Owner Donated Tens of Thousands to Anti-Abortion Right-Wing Groups. And then it says, the company behind Coachella has given thousands of dollars to a right-wing group fueling anti-abortion efforts. In a report by Rolling Stone, it was found by the Anschutz Corporation, which owns Coachella's parent company AEG Presents, donated $75,000 to the Republican Attorneys General Association just days after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Republican Attorneys General Association claims it aims to elect and re-elect Republican Attorneys General nationally and holds an anti-abortion stance. The organization claimed after Roe v. Wade was overturned, putting abortion rights at risk throughout the United States, that every donation will help Republican attorneys general combat the Democrats' pro-abortion agenda and stand tall for life. The report also revealed that the Anschutz Corporation donated to two Republican super PACs in March, the Senate Leadership Fund and the House Leadership Fund, both of which aim to expand the Republican Senate majority. The donation report comes after years of criticism for funding Republican and anti-LGBTQ plus groups by the Anschutz Corporation. In January 2018, celebrity blogger Perez Hilton warned Coachella attendees that profits from their tickets could fund anti-LGBT and anti-abortion politicians after it was found that Anschutz Corporation owner Philip Anschutz gave $187,300 to politicians who are vocally against same-sex marriage and anti-abortion. Just your second annual reminder that while Coachella is a super fun time, proceeds from your tickets will, in all likelihood, go to fund anti-LGBT and anti-abortion politicians in a very important midterm year. Hilton wrote in a blog post at the time. AEG owner Philip Anschutz is a massive donor to conservative Republicans who regularly give hundreds of thousands to GOP politicians. Anschutz went on to deny Hilton's 2018 claims, stating that he unequivocally supports the rights of all people. The Anschutz Corporation said in a statement to Rolling Stone that Anschutz believes in a woman's right to choose and did not support the reversal of Roe. Then why did you fund it, assholes? It added, neither the Anschutz Corporation or Mr. Anschutz received, saw, or was aware of Republican Attorneys General Association fundraising solicitation based on the reversal of Roe v. Wade. They added that the donation was not based upon, informed by, or motivated by any Republican Attorney General Association position on Roe or abortion. And then, did I read this part? No, I don't think I did. I think this is a different article from Mitch Mag. Oh no, I think this is a different source altogether. But this is from Mitch Mag. It was published July 2022. It was written by Anissa Ahmed, and it says, AEG parent company found to have donated to anti-abortion political group. And then it says, the Anschutz Corporation, the parent company of Coachella and All Points East owners AEG Live, has donated $75,000 to the Republican Attorneys General Association, which supports Republican causes such as anti-abortion. A donation by the Anschutz Corporation was made 5 days after the Roe v. Wade reversal was made on June 24th. Rolling Stone found after obtaining a file that was submitted to the IRS in July. Shortly after the legislation was overturned, outlawing abortion in several U.S. states, Republican Attorneys General Association put out a call saying every donation will help Republican Attorneys General combat the Democrats' pro-abortion agenda and stand tall for life. The Anschutz Corporation denies that the company or owner was aware of this transaction and has said to Rolling Stone that the company has been donating to the Republican Attorney General Association since 2014. And as a personal matter, Philip Anschutz believes in a woman's right to choose and did not support the reversal of Roe. However, Republican Attorney General Association has made it clear that they are after donations that combat the Democrats' pro-abortion agenda and stand tall for life. Republican Attorney General Association aim is to elect attorney generals who are in favor of imposing anti-abortion laws in contentious or on-the-fence states. Republican Attorney General Association has contributed to the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, the case that took down Roe versus Wade. The association even organizes treats and rewards for their corporate donors, such as private retreat where donors can RSVP. The Anschutz Corporation is the parent company of AEG Live and its subsidiary Golden Voice, which presents Coachella and Stagecoach. Alongside these companies, the private holding company also oversees a variety of other companies and media outlets such as AEG Sports, owners of various sports teams, and conservative magazine Washington Examiner. Despite continuously denying that they did not ideologically agree with conservative or right-wing ideals, this is not the first time that the Anschutz Corporation has donated to such groups or causes. In March, the corporation donated $750,000 to Senate Leadership Fund and the House Leadership Fund, both of which are political action committees dedicated to gaining full Republican control of both the House and the Senate. In a statement to Rolling Stone, AEG Live said, AEG presents Golden Voice and its other subsidiaries as one company, stands firmly in support of a woman's rights to choose. As owner and producer of many of the most inclusive festivals and venues on the planet, we have taken strides to make our position on this clear. On June 28th, in the wake of the troubling overturning of Roe v. Wade and with the full support of the Anschutz Corporation, we informed all our employees that we will be covering travel and lodging expenses for women who need to leave their home state for reproductive health services, including abortion. We remain, as ever, committed to choice, freedom, and access to full reproductive health options for women. Then, my last source from someone else I want to show you guys here is from Variety Staff. And it says AEG founder who funded anti-LGBT agendas is now fighting legal pot. And this was published January 2018. And so, just wrapping up with that reminder, Anschutz Entertainment Group is the live music giant and corporate parent of Golden Voice and the annual Coachella Music Festival. It's got a lot of heat because his private family foundation was donating, to the organizations with the anti-LGBT agendas. And he takes issues with marijuana as well. And he's funded more than $200,000 to fund anti-marijuana efforts in Colorado. And he has a net worth of over $10 billion. Now, a reminder, they donate tens of thousands to anti-marijuana organizations. And he claimed that he had seized all contributions to anti-LGBT groups, even though he didn't. So, yeah. Now, I want to wrap this puppy up. I do have a couple of sources from my own website that I will be linking on this video about all of this. One of them is called Why Funding Sources Matter from my blog, and I just discussed, basically like what I'm talking about here, like value alignment in business. Why does it matter where the money goes or come from? Because we can't keep excusing corruption. It's to me, it speaks to settler colonialism mindset to continue excusing oppression by the idea that it's okay to oppress others if I'm making a lifestyle for myself. You know what I'm saying? Um, and so on my blog, I have a blog called Empower People where I discuss all of these issues, and I list a lot of the sources that we've discussed. Um, but in here, I have a line. I said, if someone does not think ethics exist in business while using that as an excuse to support unethical practices rather than act for change, maybe that person is just unethical. And I kind of agree with my past self there because, yeah, you know what I mean? That perfectly sums up everything that I've been saying. Like, we need to come to terms with the fact that if, you know what I'm saying? Like, if we are trying to claim that we're not, queerphobic or misogynistic for supporting organizations that fund taking away human rights. You know what I'm saying? We need to just admit that we're okay with taking away human rights because that's what the fuck we are doing. Like, in this regard, the music industry is so hard to make a living in. The income disparity is so high in the music industry. And most people in the music industry are already working multiple jobs in order to get by because we're not getting paid enough to make a living in the music industry. So for people to say, I'm going to uphold this corruption in the music industry does piss me off because literally, like, this we're maintaining that oppression. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna keep spiraling on these issues. It's about 2 a.m. now, so this is a really long live. I didn't mean for it to be this long, but I'm really glad I did this live. I felt like these sources, they just need to be like highlighted. We need to remember, we need to make sure we're processing this information. So if you watched this far, I really, really appreciate you. It means so much to me that you also care about these issues. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it makes me feel like I'm not crazy and like I'm less alone and like others care to know that others are paying attention and perhaps wanting to do something about these issues. So thank you a lot for watching. I appreciate you so much. I hope you have a wonderful night. Or day or whatever the fuck you're saying this. And yeah, make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Um, and yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for watching. You might want to adjust the volume after all of this because a loud music is going to play. So yeah, adjust the volume. And then if you're coming to these lives anyway, I do have a loyalty program, yolodeafchild.com/loyalty. If you sign up for my site as a member and you follow the check-in procedure, you can get points just for showing up to these lives anyway. So I just want to let you know about that. Yeah, about that. Yeah, I always have a really hard time saying goodbye because saying goodbye really just kind of feels like you're Tom Hanks. You know what I mean? Over here, just like welcome, Wilson. But anywho, yeah. So thank you for being here and goodbye.
I got